for Q&A, do you also find that the cellulose derivative Noodler's pens dry out really fast, even when capped and stored? I've filled my Ahab, neglected it in a desk drawer for a few days, and come back to a nearly bone dry pen, as in a dry piston chamber, not just as dry as in the nib and the feed. Same thing happens with my Creaper, but not my acrylic Konrad. Interesting. So yes, I would say this is not super unusual for these pens. They do tend to dry out a little bit quicker, especially I think the nib Creaper and the Ahab, for whatever reason. I don't know if just like the threads aren't as tight maybe or something. And I have noticed a little bit that the acrylic pens don't do it quite as much. Now what would be interesting would be to see if that happens on a regular Konrad versus an acrylic Konrad, because the design is similar, but it would be the main material that would be the main difference. With the Ahab and the nib Creaper, you're dealing with a whole different model of pen, so it's hard to say if an acrylic Konrad versus a cellulose derivative, normal Ahab, if it's the material or if it's the pen model, because it's two different designs there. So that would be something interesting. I wish I could tell you off the top of my head about the Konrad thing, but it has been my observation that kind of lines up with what you're saying. Maybe not that fast, like in a couple of days. You may have some environmental factors there, like if you have, excuse me, if you have a really dry environment, like either dry as in like really hot and dry, like if you're in a very arid climate, or if you're in an environment where it's really hot and there's a lot of AC running, air conditioning sucks moisture out of the air and dries it out. So that could be another factor as well. That might be part of it, but as far as like working around it, part of it just kind of is the pen and the way that it is. Just keeping the pen filled more regularly would be part of my answer. I understand that's a little bit annoying, but it's it's part of the deal with those pens. And then keeping it sealed up in like a Ziploc bag or something could also help. A little Ziploc snack bag, like this kind of deal here. Just keep the pen sealed up in there if you're not going to be using it as regularly. Could be something that could help. But in general, especially with these flex pens, like I don't want to make it seem like, oh, Noodler's quality control, whatever, but it's like part of it is these flex pens, like the Noodler's cuts these feeds so that they're like a big wide feed channel so that it keeps a steady supply of ink for these flex pens as you're writing with them and flexing them out really far. However, when the pen's just sitting there, because of that wide open feed channel, it's going to be more likely to want to dry out. So it's kind of a give and take there on that.